Hi, Brinda. I'm super excited to have you here today and looking forward to learn a lot from your experience.
Hi, Rafat. Thank you so much for having me today. Yeah, super excited for this conversation. Actually, we have a lot of conversations anyway, so this is the first time, we're recording it, so that's awesome.
And a little bit of disclosure, me and Brinda has worked together as well. She has mentored me in my startup journey. She has supported me a lot as well. So personally, we have talked a lot about business and the struggles that we have faced, advices. But we're gonna definitely dive little more unfiltered insights into Brinda's journey. And for those who don't know, Brinda actually grew up in UK where she had a job as a lawyer, basically a 9 to 5 job. And then she moved to Sri Lanka, where she built Sri Lanka's biggest co working space, which then later recognized as the best co working space in the world. Right. I'm going to stop it there. I want Brinda to share more details from her journey from UK to Sri Lanka and building this awesome business. Share us more. Give us more about your story.
Awesome. Okay. I think you made it sound more dramatic than what it is. But no, I think just to say that I'm Sri Lankan origin. Lived in Sri Lanka until I was about 7. Moved around a lot with my family, and then we ended up in the UK. So studied law. Was working in law for a couple of years, and then I moved to Sri Lanka, but continued my job in the UK at the law firm for 7 years. And the reality is, like, there are a lot of transferable skills between law and the work that I ended up doing, right? So creative problem solving, you need that in law, you need that when you run your own business. And then I think my experience in the UK versus Sri Lanka just showed me that in the UK you are a tiny little fish in this big ocean, right? And I think in contrast, in Sri Lanka your impact is almost more immediate. And I think that has just been a massive difference between working in the UK and Sri Lanka and the work that we do at Hatch.
And I have to say that the impact that you and the Hatch making in Sri Lanka is tangible and you can feel it. And I want to start with something, especially if the viewers who don't know about this. You, as a first time founder, you build Hatch, which is basically the core business is a co working space. I want you to talk a little bit about the concept of co working for a person who doesn't know much or who is working out of an office, really haven't, worked out of a co working space. Yeah, share us more about that to start with.
Sure. Like I think in the most simplest way, the difference between a co-working space and your own office is that co-working is shared. And the moment that you're in a shared space, there's so much diversity of opinions, people from different walks of life. They could be professionals, freelancers, designers, and we have the Rifats of the world sitting right next to you, where you get to, have really great conversations and learn new things. The beauty of a co-working space really is its diversity, and a good co-working space has a really solid community so that you really don't feel like you're
Mm.
journeying in life alone.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. The community is, I think, one of the best aspect of a co-working space, and I think Hatch has done a brilliant job building one of the best communities out there. Now, the whole concept of community, building a community around your business, building a community around your startup, is so popular now. Notion, Miro, they all actually are a big outcome because of the communities they built around their product to start with. In the similar way, I think Hatch has done much more similar to the service or the product that you are providing, but you guys have done a brilliant job. I want you to talk a little bit about the whole concept of community building. Like, how did you do it? I don't think it's just by an accident. I think the community building was done by design, and you might have faced a lot of challenges. So, give us more about community building.
Yeah, so Rifat, you've actually been in our community for about 4 years now. So actually, before I answer that question, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, yeah, what does community attach mean to you? And like, if you can like showcase an example of it.
For me, Community means it's not just the people who you have in your day-to-day life, or like, family or friends. It's beyond that, who you would interact with and, share, have a conversation with random topics, and they're super supportive to you despite, you haven't invested heavily in. This is the first time you talk to them, hey, hi, and you have a coffee together, and then he's like giving you random advices, and then he shares your content that he saw which could be supportive to you. Like, it's basically where, the trust hasn't been built much, but both of you are supportive, or the group of people where the trust hasn't been built much to a point where it's not a like a well-known contact, but you're still trying to be helpful, engaging, socializing. That's what community means for me. And at Hatch, that happens so much for me. Like, whenever a random problem shows up, I go to make a coffee, and like my coworker see me and, hey Riff, what's up? And I'll be like, I'm going through this, and then we start talking, and he'll be like, hey, oh, these guys face this problem. And sometimes if it's a sales or marketing problem where I don't have expertise, I'll be able to almost get a free consultation from someone who is working in sales or marketing. You know what I mean? Like, so that part of community is really helpful for me, especially as a first time founder who's trying to, learn everything, try everything, while building the startup. So that is community for me.
That's so amazing because just to pick up on a few things. Firstly, you're right, it is by design. I think you need to be deliberate when you are deliberate in some sense, but like not controlling when you are creating a co-working space. And that really starts with, what is your community? Why is it even formed? Why each person is there, what they're there to gain. You need to have a really solid understanding of that to begin with. And then just picking up on a few other points that you actually mentioned. Trust. You actually mentioned purpose and helpfulness as well. So if you come together for a purpose like, hey, I want to start a business, you automatically lower some of those barriers, right? Because you're all there to build a business and you understand each other's pain points. So trust is developed really quickly within a community. And I spent a long time just observing. If I'm really honest with you, just observing people, the way they come in, talking to people, asking them what are their needs. Because in the back of my mind, I'm very aware that I work for the community. I work for the team. I'm like, honestly, I might be the co-founder of the business and the CEO or the former CEO, but I'm very aware who I work for. And so I constantly need to go and have conversations and ask them, like, what is it that you want out of this community? How can I be of use? And find ways to add value. The moment that I start adding value, or as a team we start adding value, we automatically create that idea of paying it forward. And then for you, Rifat, I can come and say to you, hey, Rifat, I know that these are some of your challenges, and I just met someone who has a potential solution. So I'm
And by the
constantly
way, that
finding.
has happened to me several times, by the way. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And so how do I continue to add value? Because the moment that you think that, okay, I'm not getting any value from this community anymore, you don't need to be there. And sometimes
Yeah.
that's okay, because you can outlive the hatch community, and that's okay. So that's one thing. Another just like very tactical thing, I don't know if that's what you can call it, but by design we had inductions. So when you join
Mhm.
Rifad or Abby, Roshan, all of you guys join together, right? You guys have an amazing bond that still exists for till today, even though Roshan's left, Pete's left, etc., because you met at that induction day. It's
Mhm.
another way to hold you guys together, right? And a shared sense of, hey, we're in this together. So I think that again is a little bit by
Is it
design.
basically tribalizing the people when you on board?
I don't know about that, but
But kind of in putting the same tribe and building a tribe around it to us. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
That is true. That is true. Do you think when Hatch won the best co-working space in the world, you think the community is the key reason why you guys won that?
Hands down. Honestly, I mean, I guess, when we asked them why is it that we won, they also said about the impact. But community, how we create value and create impact is through our interactions. And I think that that is a massive contributing
Mm-hmm.
factor to winning, especially the year that we won. It was a COVID year. We didn't even have a physical space. And so to win that during a lack of physical infrastructure, tells you the strength of our community. So yeah, just I agree with you.
And now I want to ask you something that, as a first time founder, you have not just built a community. Since you came from basically a 9 to 5 experience, you had to build your team as well. I'm going to ask you a question related to that team building. So, as a first time founder, you build your team and you scaled your team, right? So, based on your experience, give us few more insights, and also maybe you can share a little bit about some great traits of a good team, and also maybe few red flags that you have seen or experienced when you are building a team. Shares more. Shares all about team building.
Sure. Firstly, Rafat, I was never, so bearing in mind, I was not a manager in the UK. I had an amazing manager that I was working under. Then when I started Hatch, I was just learning as I went along. I didn't have any experience, right? And so I think what I've learned over the years, and I will tell you with confidence, I have one of the best teams. It's a founder's dream team that we have at Hatch, past and present. And I think one of the things that we do well is that we have just really brutal, honest feedback, but in the kindest way possible. I'm not really doing you I'm doing you a disservice if I'm not being honest with you, right? And I think that it really doesn't matter whether you can call me out as a founder, hey, your actions aren't matching your values, or somebody else within the team to really direct them, because our team is also young. There was a lot that we all had to learn together. I guess another principle that I implemented was a deep understanding of why those team members are there. And this is assuming that you've done your purpose alignment, and those are, table stakes. But more than that, why is that individual there? What skill sets, what unique skill sets do they bring to the table that makes them the best person for that job? Because they need to understand the value that they bring to the table. And Rajiban, for example, if you guys come to Hatch, you'll know he is the big friendly giant. He's very very tall, but he is the perfect person in the current phase of our journey to run community. He has so much patience and he genuinely cares. And we've had many conversations where I'm kind of speaking to him saying that, Raji, like you're the perfect person for community, and getting him to understand how he's contributing to the success of Hatch. I'll tell you how I got to this point, because I read this book called The Last Lecture. I don't know if it's by Randy Pausch. Really great book.
Brilliant book, I can say. Yeah, brilliant one.
And after I read that, I understood that life has thrown us so many different curveballs that we ourselves build principles to live by, right? Some people call these values, some people call this culture. Having read that book, I came back to the team and I said, we're all going to talk about our 3 life principles. Okay, so each of us took it in turns, presented, so it's a formal presentation, and they talk about what drives us. And Raji's story, for example, incredible. He met with a car accident, he nearly lost his life, and it was 3 strangers that actually saved him, stopped him from getting his leg amputated. And through that journey, I understood why he was the way he is, why he is so patient, why he is so kind to strangers, why he cares so much. And that wasn't enough of just me, Rifat, to understand that. But the moment he presented that to the team, and all of them presented what life has taught them, it just like changed things within the team. That was like an amazing foundation, really, with one respect, one understanding each other's values, and an appreciation that, hey, I am again journeying together with this incredible human being. And I think good teams that have each other's back, hold each other accountable, have a deep understanding of why they're there, like how getting to know each other a little bit deeper.
That's a brilliant answer, especially about that exercise that you talked about. Is I think it's a brilliant way to understand why a person does everything, because everyone has a different perspective or a lens of seeing the world, right? I'm gonna follow back on the same question. I want to know, like, is there any specific red flags or bad to do's when you're building a team? Something that you have observed.
No, I don't even think just specifically for a team, but anyone who puts their interests before another person is a red flag for me, right? If you come in with a massive ego, thinking that you're always right, that you don't take feedback, that's a huge red flag. No one wants to work with that guy, you know? And automatically, everyone has their guards up, and you're never going to get the best out of your team. So I think, yeah, people with just massive egos, it just doesn't work out.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a brilliant answer. As a first time founder building your business and founding CEO, co-founder and founding CEO, you built Hatch and you were the CEO for 5 years. And now that you are no longer the CEO of Hatch, you have transition, build the business and transition is into a much more sustainable model where, a seasoned CEO can, scale it up from there, right? And now that you are out of the business, right, this is a rare opportunity for me to learn. I rarely meet people who have gone through this journey. So now that you're kind of out of the day-to-day operations, you might have this new perspective looking at the business that you built from that view. Like, what you observe now, maybe these are few things that you might have done differently, or sometimes these are things that you never saw while you were inside building the business, right? So can you give us a little more about this outsider perspective? How do you see Hatch, and give us more? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I was leaving, someone gave me an interesting analogy. They were saying that, Brinda, you really only know how well you've built something until you have to let your hands go. It's like building, putting building blocks on top, and then but you're actually holding on to it. The moment you let go, hey, is that going to come tumbling down? And I remember like these conversations I was having with someone where, like, as I was exiting, and I was like, oh my goodness, actually I have no idea how this is going to work out. But thankfully, I think that's why, through the process of just yeah, it wasn't just me building Hatch. That's the reality. It was the community, it was the team, it was all of us contributing to it. And so it's been able to still do amazingly well. As a outsider looking back in, I think that every day I was so worried. I would always come into work stressed. If I went back in, I wouldn't be so stressed. One thing, I think there was this fictitious like hustle culture that I was trying to pursue, that if I wasn't working hard enough or putting this many hours in, trying to raise funds. And I'm not saying that raising funds and doing those things are all bad. I think for our business, for me personally, I'm okay with just building a solid, sustainable business. I don't need to run to raise funds to be able to show my worth. So just focusing more attention and time on building on the good work that we have already done is what I would do. And secondly, I understood that community is not something that you can build and let go of. It's a continuous process. So I would spend more time actually with the community, which is what I love doing anyway, and which is what I spend a lot of my time now that I've stepped out of the business. I do. Yeah, just spend more time with the community, stop worrying, and understand deeply what does success mean to me.
That's really important. Yeah. So Brinda, we have come to almost end of the discussion. Before we end, I want to ask you, is there any one advice that you have for anyone basically listening to? This is like Brinda's go-to one sentence.
Um, yeah, I think it's just care, just actually care. And in every aspect of your life. And when it comes to your business, there's a popular belief out there that says, don't take things personally. And people often say, don't get so obsessed. And obviously, there are times where you have to kill your own business. And yes, you will have to not take things personally at that point. But I believe that if you don't care enough, no one else will. Just care about the details. That's how very good businesses are formed, because the founder goes into the nitty gritty, cares and thinks deeply about the actual business, about the problem, of course, yes, but cares about the team. For me, cares so deeply about the community. And this takes time. Yeah, take more time to care.
That is a brilliant advice. It's, just care. It's like, just do it. Just go. Brilliant. Yeah, it's a brilliant advice. Thanks a lot, Brinda, for being here with us today and sharing your insights and experience from building this amazing business. And I'm actually looking forward to your future stories. And thanks a lot for being here with us.
No, and Rifat, I love the work that you are doing, and I've been able to see you grow for the last 4 years. And it makes me really proud to see how far you've come along as a founder. So, just good luck with everything.
Thank you.